Okay, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for our second session of a live interview with an Amazon seller. This is the second webinar we're doing in 2017, and due to the success of our previous webinar, we actually decided to brand this webinar series as a brand by its own. So it's called the Seller Spotlight. If you like this webinar or the ones in the past, pay attention to your email inbox in the future if you see an invitation for this kind of webinars. In these webinars, we will basically bring high-volume Amazon sellers for a live interview, talking on different challenges, different tools they're using, and in general, their perspective of the business. Today, we are very excited to host Barry Lampert. Barry has been a Feedvisor customer for almost a year, and he has a very interesting story. And after talking with him a few times in our previous conferences and in other occasions, we decided to invite him to participate in this webinar series. Barry is basically an online seller for for over 10 years. And instead of me presenting him, we'll let him talk for himself. So, Barry, can you please turn on your webcam?
Yes, hi.
Hey, Barry. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. We didn't coordinate the same shirt. That's by coincidence. I should let everyone know.
It's a good one.
Exactly. So one important logistic thing for you guys to know, if you have questions coming throughout the webinar, stuff that you want Barry to talk in more information or develop further, please use the GoToWebinar dashboard that you have. There is a place over there. There is a chat box for you guys to submit questions. And the more you submit questions, the more engaging this session will be. So please feel free to send us questions. We already received over 300 questions. I was trying to go through them and summarize them. There's many questions that are in the same area. And today we're going to review different aspects of the business, including sourcing, FBA, inventory, and the questions that I like more are related to business decisions. So Barry, let's start with you telling us about yourself, your experience with online selling, and let people get to know you.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Ohad. So my name is Barry Lampert. As Ohad said, I've been selling online for about 10 years. I started by selling things that I had at home, just extra things that I had no use for. I was always interested in clicking around on computers, and my first sale was a BlackBerry cell phone that I had, and was working for a company whose primary business was not focused on selling on the online marketplaces. I did that for some time, and which eventually led to me doing it on my own. And I sort of got really comfortable with eBay, which was the main marketplace at that time, and kept hearing a lot about Amazon, but really had to be pushed into starting with it until eventually a couple of my friends in the business just said I was absolutely crazy to not get into Amazon. So I did in about 2011, and the success was, like a lot of other people have found, pretty much immediate. The volume and just the gross volume was just much higher than anything I'd experienced with on eBay before, and till today, Amazon is my #1 selling marketplace.
Thank you. Wasn't one of the questions, but I'm curious to get your perspective on that. You know, Amazon has changed a lot. Basically, changes every year almost. What's your perspective? How would you describe, you know, the Amazon marketplace today compared to a few years ago? What's the difference? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges that you're seeing today that were not the same case a few years ago?
Right. Well, it's interesting. I think that whereas by comparison, where eBay, when in its early days, was kind of the Wild West, and that sort of was an advantage to the seller. I think Amazon in its early days was so careful about protecting its brand that it was a real disadvantage to the seller. And I think that over time, as Amazon has improved and increased their third-party selling marketplace, it's become a lot more seller friendly, both from the Amazon perspective as well as all the available information and software that's available to the Amazon seller.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, just so we direct this conversation to the right place? I know, for example, private label is something you want to start. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. So most of the products that we sell are what I guess Feedvisor calls competitive products, right? So we're selling mostly name brands, mostly in the health and beauty sector. We get into some grocery and other smaller categories for us as well. And we don't really do very much private label. It's, if any questions or information about that, I'm probably not the best person to ask. I'm still learning. I'm still learning in all regards, but in private label, my experience is much more limited. That's pretty much the short version of what we do.
Cool. Let's talk about sourcing. Actually, in any retail business, that's a big component of the success that you can attribute to a business. Can you tell us about your sourcing process? How you decide which products to buy? That's a decision you make at the beginning of the sales cycle, and do you use any data for making these decisions?
Right. So, sourcing is a huge part. You want to be at least our business model is to be as wide as possible. We'd like to have a large variety. We want to be a big seller, and we want to go as wide as we cast as wide a net as we can. So it's constant looking for new vendors. Once you have those vendors, doing the research to find the profitable products. We certainly do use software. Feedvisor's helped us with that. Shameless plug. With the information that's available. But we're looking at things like sales rank. We're looking at things like competition. How many other sellers are on particular products, particular ASINs. Looking for ways perhaps to be a little bit more creative, maybe bundling things together or creating multi-packs and things like that.
Good. So, again, one more logistics stuff. I see a lot of people are asking if this will going to be video recorded. So the answer is yes, this is recorded. And if you're missing something, you guys can watch it later. Some people are asking here, are you competing against Amazon in some of your products?
Oh, definitely. And we're not scared of that either, because Amazon, they give themselves a pretty large advantage, and the advantage that they give themselves. People talk about Amazon hogging the buy box, Amazon, taking over on listings and things like that. They just give themselves perfect metrics when it comes to selling. So that does give them an advantage. But we most certainly have plenty of listings where Amazon's on there. We get our sales as well, and they run out just like any other vendor does. They'll run out, and if it's a popular product, even a few hours of Amazon being stocked out offers us a pretty big opportunity.
Right. Let's talk about FBA. I know some sellers will claim that this thing changed their life. Some sellers will say that it wasn't a good fit for their business. What's your perspective about FBA?
So FBA is a good one. We use it. I don't think we fall on either side of the line there. We're not strictly FBA and we're not strictly merchant. We use it where it's profitable. Obviously, with the understanding, once you send it to Amazon, there are costs involved with just getting it there and getting it back. So you want to be committed to the product that you're sending to FBA. You can't really play around as much as you might be able to with merchant fulfilled, where I don't necessarily have to stock up as much. But it certainly increases sales in a tremendous way. It relieves us of the responsibility of having to talk to the customers for good and for bad. Though Amazon is a lot more free with giving away refunds and things of that nature, and it's something we have to keep on top of. We're constantly actually in last week's webinar, Mike had talked about, I believe it was Mike.
Yep.
So he had said how he has a dedicated person who is auditing Amazon, and right. I have one person in the office who is their only job is to audit Amazon and to look for reimbursement opportunities, look for places where Amazon may have shorted us, whether it's on inventory or on a refund, Amazon, they do what they do, but realize at the end of the day that these small mistakes to them add up to a lot for us, and it's certainly been extremely profitable to have one dedicated person, depending on the size of your business, to go after those reimbursements. And I'm a big fan of doing that on your own if you can.
So, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this area just because I know last time and even now I'm seeing more questions coming specifically about this thing. Let's talk for a second about managing an employee when you're an Amazon seller, and then we'll dive into that specific role that you just mentioned about auditing what Amazon is doing. So, can you please describe the growth of your team? How many people you are right now, and at what stage did you start adding people to your headcount, basically?
Okay, so I started off doing everything myself, and I think I did that. Looking back, I know I did that for too long because I was very much emotionally attached to everything that I was doing, and I wanted to make sure that everything was done perfectly, and I understood that if I handed over whatever responsibilities it may be to somebody else, that was going to result in a decreased performance in that area. But I had to let go, and in order to grow, there's no way I could possibly be a one-man show. I think the process for doing that for me is I want to know everything about what I do and what my business does. So I'm going to go ahead and master that skill or that project, that job, whatever it might be, before handing it off to anybody else. I want to know what they're doing. And once I have mastered it, and it's something that I can sort of almost do in my sleep, and it's the same repetitive task over and over, it's time to hand it off to somebody else because my time is better served doing new things, pushing new business, and growing in other ways. So today we have somewhere between 20 and 30 employees doing various different tasks in regards to selling online, and it's all about that, really, just mastering the skills, and then passing it off to somebody to do. We use a combination of in-house employees as well as software and online freelancers as well.
Right. So someone is asking, and for all of those seeing me moving around with my head, I'm trying to capture as many questions that are coming as possible. There is, I think, one good question here. Can you talk about the organization of your team, the structure? Who is doing what? You don't have to go into too much detail, more in the high level of the structure.
I guess just a repetition of what I was just saying. The different people have different jobs. I think that earlier on with smaller, when we were doing smaller numbers, we'd have, besides for myself wearing many different hats and doing many different things, I'd have other people wearing many different hats and doing many different things until those jobs become too big for one person to handle. So, whereas before we might have had somebody who was creating all the shipments and taking in all the returns, today we have, a few people who are doing just shipping, and then, some people who are only dealing with returns, customer service, things, all the different tasks as we grow have grown out to become, I guess each team has become, or person has become more specialized in what they're doing.
Right. Let me ask you that for an FBA seller that is growing, okay, let's say they're making $1 million a year and they're trying to go over this number. Which people do you recommend that they should think of hiring at that point? Who are the people that are critical for their growth?
I think it's the mindless tasks. I think it's really important for every seller to think to themselves, because there's some things I like to do in the business and some things I don't like to do. But I think it can't really be about what I enjoy. It has to be more about what I feel like it can easily be replicated. So if I have a particular, I guess I'm being a little bit repetitive here, but to hammer the point home, if there's something that I'm doing without thinking about, and I'm doing it on a constant repetitive basis every single day, it's really time for me to move on from that task. And I think that's going to that's going to vary based on how you run your business and what kind of business you're running.
Right. Listen, I completely agree with you, and I think it's what you're saying right now is relevant for any business owner or any manager. When you get to a point that you're only keep running, and doing the same tasks, that's not what you're going to get you to the next level. We actually have a saying here that what got you there won't get you to the next level.
Right.
So if you feel you're in a point that you can already allocate the job for whatever able to get you here, so you can start thinking about the next thing, whether the next thing is a new channel or a new products or new category that you want to enter. Right. I absolutely agree with you, and we apply the same.
I think also that and we talked about, you and I talked about this at the Feedvisor conference recently. The topic of selling on Amazon as a seller, we need to sort of decide when we want to make that, if we want to make that break from being exclusively just an Amazon seller, or do I want to have an online business? And I think that's an important distinction to make, because at the end of the day, if all I do is sell on Amazon, then I'm sort of tied into that, and that is all my business is composed of. But once I'm ready to make that break, like you're saying, to become a legitimate business and not just an Amazon seller, then all the usual rules that apply to running a business start to become a factor.
Barry, there is a few questions coming here. We just talked about FBA, and I moved to staffing just because I know it's a big thing for the Amazon sellers community. There is one interesting question here that came, and it's very similar to the question we had before. Long-term storage fees are coming to Amazon and to FBA sellers, so to say.
Yes.
And one of the questions, it might be too specific, but it's asking how many days of stock do you keep at FBA, and how do you manage to optimize it without stock out on one end and to be overstocked on the other?
Okay, it's a great question. I definitely excuse me. Okay. So we always stock with the end in mind, right? We don't want to send in, just because I ordered 1,000 units of one particular item doesn't mean it's time to send 1,000 units to FBA. I think it has to be based on data. It has to be based on sales. And if you're using Amazon as your storage facility, you're probably going to be spending a lot more money than you want to. At some point, I know that people start off perhaps in their homes or in their garage or something like that, and you sort of have to make that leap and decide when it's time to start paying for your own storage facility, essentially, because Amazon, in most cases, once you get to a certain level, is not going to be the cheapest way to store your products. We take a lot of time using the Feedvisor replenish reports, and before that, we used other replenishment software to determine exactly how many units it makes sense to send. I like the number somewhere between 30 and 45 days. I mean, that somewhere in that range usually works for us. You covered this way if you can't necessarily get the product right away. But it really is going to depend on fulfillment time from your vendor. It's going to depend on how often you want to ship. Once you become a daily shipper, obviously that problem goes away. But it's certainly important to use real data to make sure that we're not paying too much in storage, and especially with the long-term storage.
Let's talk about product reviews. Amazon introduced a new policy for sellers about sponsor reviews, and that kind of make a big impact on many Amazon sellers. Can you share your perspective on that? I know you're selling competitive products, so it's a different product.
Right. We don't really. We do some automated stuff. I mean, very small amount when it comes to competitive products. We do solicit our customers using like a feedback software. We use the same idea when it comes to reviews, but we're not really. Again, that's more of a private label question, I think, because our products usually rank pretty well without them. I can certainly dive into the feedback topic. I think that's a little bit different though.
Right. Talking about marketing, I know we talked before, and I actually had a list of questions for you that I was curious to hear your point of view, but you have a different approach for that. Can you share that? You said, remind you, you mentioned that you're not investing actually a lot in product listing and sponsored ads. Can you share your direction here?
I'm not sure that I get the question. So you're talking about marketing?
Exactly. So let me ask you that. Are you using any of the sponsored ads or any other marketing channels on Amazon to promote your products?
Small amounts. Small amounts. We really we sort of let the marketplace dictate what we want to focus on. And for a private label seller, obviously you have to get your product up and you have to get sponsored ads and promotions and reviews and all that sort of thing. We don't really focus on that so much. We're looking more to capitalize on the products that are already out there that are already doing pretty well.
Right. Many people here. First, someone is asking how small, but we're not going to get into the small part of your business. They're asking how small. We said small amount of sponsored ads. I'm going to respect your privacy. We don't have to go into there. Some questions are coming about international selling. Do you sell internationally?
I have in the past. I don't right now.
How did you find this experience? Do you feel it's something that is a must for Amazon sellers that are trying to grow, or?
So again, I'm going to refer back to my previous comment about the difference between an Amazon seller and an online business.
Right.
If you want to be an Amazon seller, there's plenty of people that do that. They're more than happy to continue only selling on Amazon, and they see a lot of success, even large sellers. But I certainly am of the opinion that keeping all your eggs in one basket is not the right way to go. So expanding into other marketplaces, including international ones, is certainly a must. I would recommend starting with the English-speaking ones first. Generally easier to deal with. There's less moving parts. Canada, Amazon Canada is a good one. Amazon UK is obviously very popular. And then moving on from there.
Right. You just talked about multi-channel selling. There's a few questions coming here about which other marketplaces are you selling on and which one are you considering? I
have experience with selling and am selling, currently selling. We have eBay, Amazon, Sears Marketplace. We talked about that earlier. We are right at the onset right now with Jet and Walmart, and I've sold in the past on Rakuten as well, and we'll see. I mean, there are other ones depending on the product line that you're dealing with. But I think the up and comer, I think, in all opinions, seems to be Walmart, and Amazon will get a competitor one day. It's probably going to end up being something similar to a Walmart or a Jet.
Right. Someone here is asking about your point of view on Jet.
On Jet?
Yep.
It's up in the air because they got bought out by Walmart. I guess we don't really know 100% where that's going to go. I would imagine at some point they're going to merge the two marketplaces together, but I don't have any more information than anybody else.
I also think so, by the way. And Rakuten, someone here is asking, why did you choose to leave this channel? Because they are considering to get into this channel.
Rakuten is a good marketplace for certain sellers. They actually one of the great things that we did with Rakuten was they do a lot of promotions. They do like email lists, and they have their own sort of like a Prime Day, like Amazon has a Prime Day. So Rakuten has their equivalent. I don't remember what it's called. We certainly did not see anywhere near the volume that we did with Amazon, but you spread out to the other marketplaces, and my hope is to get all of our sales on the other marketplaces to at least be equal to our sales volume on Amazon.com, and I'll let you know what we do.
By the way, from my experience talking to a lot of Amazon sellers and working with and experiencing some work with few in the past, Amazon is by far the biggest channel, and it takes time to build the sales on other channels. On Amazon, you have a good product, it sells, right? And it's like a snowball, just keep rolling. And with other channels, it takes more time. They don't have the same volume as Amazon. In terms of traffic and customers' trust and everything else, but I absolutely agree to the point of diversifying. It's critical for any
Yeah.
business in diversifying for anything, right? Diversify your vendors, diversify your channel, the channels you're using.
Right.
It's an
And
important.
I think the something that people may miss is, and I missed it early on, is that just because I think a certain way does not necessarily mean that my customers will as well. And for me personally, in my own life, I almost exclusively order online from Amazon. I certainly shop elsewhere as well, but Amazon is my primary go-to shopping space. Now that doesn't hold true for everybody. It really doesn't. And there are people who their go-to is eBay. They love eBay. They like that sort of flea market feel that it's got, the different sellers, the maybe some refurbished or used products mixed in, and talking about Rakuten right now. I mean, they're only as a seller what we would consider to be a small piece of the marketplace, but they could be a unique piece of the marketplace, and people that shop on Rakuten may not ever show their faces on Amazon or other marketplaces.
Right. Um, okay, so moving away, and I'm going to try to cover some of, we're getting a ton of questions here. I'm going to try to cover some of them.
Okay.
You talked about competing with Amazon when you're selling the same product. Do you have a specific strategy? And I think you touched it, but do you have a specific strategy when you realize that you are competing against Amazon?
Not really, because we look at the velocity is velocity. So if the sales are there, the sales are there. I think in the past I was more scared of competing against Amazon, and sort of Amazon comes onto a listing, and
Right.
woe is me, we're gonna have to have a big dumpster fire and throw all those products out. But we have an excellent repricer, and they take care of us getting a good share of our share of the buy box and our share of the profits. They certainly, Amazon is going to take over on a listing, and they're certainly going to quote unquote hog the buy box, but the opportunity is still there. So I don't really approach it differently than any other listing.
Um, I have to say, from the Feedvisor perspective, we definitely see that there is room for sellers to compete with Amazon on the same products.
Sure.
I think the first thing is to realize on which products Amazon is competing with you, and we do have reports for this kind of stuff that we can see on a daily basis on which new products Amazon enter the competition. The fact that Amazon entered the competition does not mean that it's on a. Sometimes it's affecting other people that are competing with you on the same products. And for that, another report that shows you, critical changes on sales volume or items that are technically can be at a risk of losing sales, losing volume, etc.
Right. And I mean, it's not that we're ignorant of the fact that Amazon's on there. We're not ignoring it completely. We understand that they're there, but when we're looking at our sales, when we're looking at the specifics of why we should sell a product or continue to sell a product, I really just want to know one thing: how much profit, can we be profitable on that product? And if we can be, so it doesn't matter who's selling on there. We're making sales and turning a profit. So it's very good.
Right. One last question I'm going to take from here before we're going to move to others. Someone is asking, do you have any tricks or advice dealing with smart customers? That that's always there's always customers trying to trick the system, let's call it.
Right.
And I'm sure with the volume you're making, you're getting as well many of these. Do you have anything you specifically do, or you just acknowledge that that's part of the cost of doing business and that's it?
Right. So I see new sellers kind of falling into that trap and getting very, very upset and emotionally involved when they feel like a customer has done them wrong. Customer has returned an item, claiming that it's defective and it's not, or abused the return policy, or asked for a discount after the fact. And these are all things that we see every day. We don't get emotional about it. It's not. It's just like you said. It's cost doing business. Now we do, however, we will go after those fraudulent returns from FBA, and ask for a refund, for a reimbursement from Amazon. I had back in the days when I sold electronics, I had somebody who returned a router, and it was all pretty packaged in an Apple box, and inside there was a jar of spinach and artichoke guacamole dip. So I opened the case with Amazon and showed them the product, showed them the ticket, the invoice that came back from FBA, and they reimbursed me for it. So I'll let Amazon deal with the rogue sellers and blocking people if needed, but I'm not going to waste my time trying to hunt those people down.
Right. I actually have a good friend that is a very successful business person, not selling online, but he has a saying that, in business you have to be smart. You don't have always to win the small fight, and kind of, pick up your fights. I agree. It can be very annoying to get these, issues with customers that that trying to trick the system, but does that worth your time? That's getting you any ROI on the time you invest. So maybe you have time to do it when you're sending $1,000, $5,000 a day. But once you start scaling, you want to put your energy in a more positive growth area of the business.
Yeah.
Good. Barry, before we move on, and there's a bunch of other questions, I would like you to share your experience with Feedvisor. You have been with us for over a year. I heard you talking about your success story with Feedvisor, so I already know that, but I would love other people to hear that as well.
Sure. So I just like any other software that I use for my business, and we use a lot of software. We've tried our hand at repricing. We originally, back in the day, I used to go through every listing and set the prices, and then come back around and do it again the next day. And eventually, it gets to a point of where you just can't do that anymore. And there's just too many listings, and there's too many changes. Especially today, where a lot of the competitors have their own repricers. And the second that you go in and change a price, it's gone. So we've certainly done our research and tried. I've tried many other repricers and demoed with a few others, etc. I'm a strong believer in Feedvisor. I think what you guys do, what Feedvisor does, is different than what everybody else does. It's the repricer is smart. The repricer is constantly evolving. The repricer is looking for sort of opportunities in the marketplace to get me the most amount of profit that I can. And I've seen this using, again, data. I'm not emotionally, or I try not to be emotionally attached to when it comes to business, because you really got to do with what makes the most money for you. And I've convinced people to give it a shot for their own businesses, and the results that they've seen are really the same. And what I did was, what I challenged people to do is take 3 months worth of sales or 2 months worth of sales using whatever repricing method you're using now. Try Feedvisor for 2 months, 3 months, whatever it might be, and then just do a basic comparison. If you find that the profit margin that you're experiencing, the new profit margin that you're experiencing with Feedvisor, doesn't exceed not only what you did before, but also the cost that Feedvisor are charging, the price that Feedvisor is charging, then stop using it. But I think that most serious sellers who put the time in and actually try the software, use the software, are going to see their profit margins increase to an extent that it's impossible to live without.
Right. Thank you very much for the warm words. We're going to actually put a quick poll for you guys on the screen. So if you want to learn more about how Feedvisor solution can help your business, please go ahead and click on that. Just want to make sure is it loud? Okay. Very last thing about Feedvisor before we move on to other questions. Can you please share some of the reporting you're using with Feedvisor? Not many people know, but here at Feedvisor, we're not only about algorithmic repricing, but also about revenue intelligence, and help you guys make smarter and better decisions for your business.
Right. So the number one report that we use from Feedvisor, besides for the repricing itself, is the replenish report. And that's one that we go through on a weekly basis. We're looking for products that need to be restocked, and we use that information, that data, which has been customized for us, specifically for our business, by Feedvisor, to decide what to send to FBA that week and what to reorder from our vendors. And that report is absolutely invaluable. It's got all the common data points that I think most users would expect to see. You have your velocity, you have your sales, how competitors, Amazon being on the listing or not, really just a whole host of information that, bottom line, gets you to how many units do I need to send in or reorder from my vendors for this particular product. And that one's tremendous for us. We also have now started working with our Feedvisor representative to customize a few more reports. One of them is an assortment report, which will help us to source products. It has information in there as far as sales rank, as far as profit margins for products that we're considering selling. We also use the there's another one that we use which is a buy box suppression report, which gives us information as to listings that have had a suppressed buy box, where you might go to the listing and there's a bunch of sellers there, us being one of them. Actually, you know what? There is one more, and that is our we use what's called a non-competitive report, and the non-competitive report gives us information about items that we are currently not competing on. We don't have buy box, but we could and still make a profit. And we use that report also weekly. Go through the report, reassess our profit margins on all those products accordingly, and then just upload it to Feedvisor and let Feedvisor do its thing. Can't hear you. You're
Okay,
muted.
I was saying thank you very much for the warm words. We'll continue now, but I have to take one question. It's something that we actually already covered before, and we have one guy that is asking if, are you guys wearing the same shirt? So the answer is no.
Yes, Ohad called me this morning and said, do you want to wear the one with the boxes? And we both agreed that this would be the uniform. And actually, it's a requirement, I think, for all Feedvisor customers as well, right?
Right.
Box shirts.
Cool. Okay, so I see one guy, by the way, is asking if you're relying on Feedvisor to reprice all your inventory, and I have to say, again, I'm not going to ask you to answer that part of your business, but in general, you guys should know that we have plenty of customers. Some of them decide to reprice 100% of their inventory. Some of them just choose 60 or 70%. Just like, by the way, with FBA, not all products people decide to put with FBA. But that's absolutely an option. One more important thing to say, there is a perception that Feedvisor is a solution only for multi-million-dollar sellers, which is the case, but we also help a lot of sellers that just, let's call it, on a growth stage. So we help many sellers growing from 40, 50K to over 150 a month eventually. Right. Okay, we're going to end talking about Feedvisor. Let's move on to some other questions. Tell us about the point where you realize you are crossing or the point where you realize, that's what you need to cross the $1 million. Because many sellers see that as a kind of a selling that they have a problem to go over.
I don't know. I don't really. I mean, I set my milestones as they come up. Once we hit one, I want to hit the next one. I'm never satisfied with where we're at. I'm very happy with where we're at, but I'm always setting the goals higher. So whatever we've been doing until now, we want to refine. We want to continue to do what's working, throw away what's not. But I think if you're finding that there's a ceiling somewhere in your business, then maybe reassess what's holding you back. I never really considered that blockage on a volume base. It's more about, for me, what I look at is what did I do. The most important thing is what did I do last month? What did I do last month compared to this month? And if it's not better, it's not more, then why isn't it more? And what can I do to make it more? I guess there's downtimes as well, but we've been able to increase in our business. We've been able to increase our gross sales month over month for the past year, every single month.
Right. What's your top 3 recommendations for sellers that are looking to get eventually to a $10 million sales volume?
I mean, more of the same. I mean, it's sort of these big goals sort of almost sneak up on you. If we did whatever it was, $50,000 a month last month, well, I want to do 60 this month, and how can I do that? I kind of always have my eye on where we're at last month in comparison. Where we're at this month in comparison to last. So if I don't see us growing, then I got to think about what it is that we can do to grow, and just keep pushing, keep trying to get bigger, because there's new sellers every day. There's, the marketplace is certainly more crowded, more flooded than it was 5 years ago or even a year ago. And Amazon is opening up its own private label, and you got sellers from China coming in. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, just never be content. Just keep growing. Keep pushing.
You know, I think people don't realize it until it's a rare resource, and I'm talking about time. We got many questions. You guys submitted questions also at the beginning of the webinar. So, how do you allocate your time, or how do you decide where to allocate your time?
So, I mean, going back, I don't want to sound too repetitive. I do allocate my time pretty strictly. I schedule things on a personal calendar, and if I haven't taken care of that particular project or that task in that day, I reschedule it for the next day. So I try to be I'm scheduled, but not rigid about it. So if something else is to come up, I certainly will take care of wherever the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, right? But there are times where I have to sort of set time aside and say, okay, no phone calls right now, no emails right now. I got this one thing that I have to work on, and I have to nail it down and pay attention to it. But time management is important. I mean, the business is only going to grow as much as I push it to grow. My team members are fantastic. I have a great team, people that work with me. They're absolutely incredible. But at the end of the day, it all rolls down from the top. So I'm just going to keep pushing, and again, avoiding those repetitive tasks that I no longer really need to be involved in refining or doing on a daily basis.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about capital. Eventually, in order to grow, you need to invest, right? So, can you share your perspective on that? Someone specifically said, "Oh, you get your initial capital, and then we further discussed about it earlier. How do you go beyond that, right? It's not only the initial investment, but what do you do to keep going? What's your perspective on that?"
Right. I mean, I started out self-funded, and then eventually took, I've over the time that I've been selling online, I've taken on investors. I've done personal loans. I've opened lines of credit. I mean, I'm always looking for the cheapest money that's out there. Essentially, you want to get money for your business, but you want to get it inexpensively. Amazon themselves have their Amazon lending program that's available as well. I think it's really more of an issue before you have a proven concept. When you're first starting out, and there are stories certainly out there where people are taking $10 out of their pocket, buying one product, selling it online, and repeating that process over and over again, and it's magical. A year later they have this wonderful business.
You can grow 1,000%, but the beginning point is $10, right? So it depends
right.
what you want.
$10 exactly. That's the starting point. But I think capital in any business is a necessary part of the business, and you got to do what works best for you. But there's a lot of options out there. I mean, money is especially with the economy the way it is in the U.S. today. Money's gotten a lot cheaper than it was 10 years ago, certainly before the crash.
Right. I'm going to move on to the next question, which we got a lot of this again, and we're still getting now as we go through the webinar. But I've seen some people saying that they're not able to click or they missed the opportunity to click on the demo request. So can we please put it on? And there I'm going to ask you a question that it technically relates to Feedvisor, but you already covered the Feedvisor stuff. You can cover other areas. Many people are asking about the tools you're using, the technology you're using in different areas of your business to enable scale and growth.
Sorry, your mic is a little unclear. You're talking about software, third-party software?
Exactly. People are asking about third-party software
Sure.
and tools you're using to enable scale and growth.
The last thing you said, tools for what?
Enable scale and growth.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, as opposed to 10 years ago, there's a lot of software out there today for Amazon businesses, a tremendous amount, and there's new software companies popping up every single day. I mean, literally. But we're a few minutes before we started this, I got an email and was looking into another piece of software that somebody came out with, and it's all very interesting. There's good stuff, there's bad stuff. I've certainly, especially early on, experimented a lot and tried the different software offerings that are out there. But at some point, you need it. I mean, you need software for shipping. You need, so if you're going to do merchant selling, you're probably going to want at some point have software that's going to request feedback for you. If you have more than one or two customer service people, you're going to want to use some sort of customer service software. Inventory management is obviously very key, and accounting, above all, is most important. And interestingly, I think that's the one that is the most lacking in the space today. But we use a combination of different software from different companies. I've tried the sort of all-in-one solutions where they offer everything under one roof, and I found that it's kind of jack of all trades, master of none. That sort of idea where these all-in-one softwares don't really cover everybody's bases as much as they might try to. I'm not going to get specific with which particular software vendors we've dealt with, but it certainly behooves the Amazon seller to start looking into that as you grow, to automate, because there's only so much you can do in a day, and at some point hiring people to do that job isn't necessarily the best way to go either.
Right. Okay, so we're almost out of time, I think. Yes, it's already 10 minutes. Okay. So we'll do the following. We'll take one question, and then I'm going to cover two other areas, unless we're going to get a few more in here. It's one question that we actually got in the previous webinar, and I like. And the question is, what do you attribute your success to? Is it product quality, branding, marketing, doing things right? What do you think you're doing right, basically?
I'm really stubborn and really persistent. And I work really hard. You know, I think the idea out there by a lot of people selling on Amazon, at least starting to or thinking about it, is that Amazon is sort of this like set it and forget it, maybe, you know, passive income or something you might do on the side. And that might be the case for some people, and I've certainly heard success stories in that regard. But for me, I sort of, once I've taken this to be a serious business and the major part of my working life, I put everything that I have into it. So I don't think there's one thing. I think you're going to have dips, and you're going to have highs. Not to sound like too much of a cheerleader here, but you know, just keep pushing. I mean, that's really, I think that's my number one attributed to success.
Okay. We're getting a few more questions now that we can take. I guess we have a few more minutes. But before that, I want to say one thing. For those of you who are interested, Barry is actually giving some consulting service for sellers that are looking to, you know, invest in the growth of their business. So we're going to put another poll right now for you guys. If you want to be contacted by Barry, please click on that area on the screen. And the one last thing I'll say before we move on to the next part is that there's a new tradition that we're starting here with this webinar series. We're going to actually raffle 5 account analyses, Amazon account analyses, for 5 sellers that are participating on this webinar. So if you are one of the lucky winners, you're going to be contacted maybe, I think, tomorrow. This account analysis will basically will put you with one of our Amazon experts in the team, and they walk through your account. We'll focus on which areas you need to improve, which areas are already strong. But that will be announced tomorrow by email. So again, 5 lucky winners will get a full free account analysis for their account. Barry, here's one more question we're getting. What strategies do you implement to increase sales consistently, month over month, right? It's not just you do it 1 year. How do you challenge yourself to scale your business month over month?
One more time, that was a little unclear at the end. Challenging myself to do what?
Keep growing your monthly sales month over month.
Well, I like success. I always want to do better. Are you asking how I'm challenging myself to do better?
Yep.
I like nice things. I want to buy myself nice things. I want to do nice things with my family. I'm looking to be as successful as I can be in the space that I'm in.
Right. In your previous history, did you try switching between different categories on Amazon, or are you always on the same category?
I started out in the electronic space, and today I'm in the health and beauty space. So, yeah, there was a pretty big change there. But I don't think the product matters when it comes to selling online. I think it becomes about understanding the space, understanding how to work within the space and be successful in the space, and the product is just another piece of the puzzle. So,
right. Okay, so last question. Getting Amazon support for issues such as feedbacks, tags, or other customer complaints that you had in the past, what was your experience with this area?
Well, I mean, you gotta work the system. You know that we open hundreds of cases almost every single day. So anything ranging from a product that needs something different about it in the listing, want to make a product change, to a listing, getting the category team on board, opening up cases for reimbursements, opening up cases just to ask general questions. I mean, we're constantly working with Amazon and opening up cases. It's like anything else, you know. Not all Amazon support specialists are created equal. So you know, a lot of times it makes sense to just close out the case and try it again with somebody else and try to get somebody in line to do it. Generally speaking, I mean, Amazon support is there. I mean, they're there for us sellers. They're certainly going to protect Amazon's interest before they protect ours, which can be frustrating for some sellers. But you got it's their sandbox, and we're just playing in it. So, but they're, you know, they help us out when we need it, and I've definitely found them to be more understanding and more helpful in the probably the past year than they have been in the past. I think they have a higher, not too high, but a higher level of respect for the third-party seller than they did before.
Right. Okay, so our time is finished. So thank you very, very much. I think it was a very interesting session.
Okay.
You are getting a lot of great feedback from different people here that are sending messages on the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And for all of you that attended this webinar, the recording will be available on our resource center on feedvisor.com/resource center. Thank you again very much, Barry, and I look forward for having the same thing with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay.